Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I have a wonderful family joining me to share their experience. And I'm doing this not because I want to show you that my program works, but I want to show you that there are other options out there and you can reduce symptoms of ADHD, anxiety naturally through food and other natural methods. So today I've got a gorgeous family with me. Hi guys, how are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Thanks for
Great.
having us.
Yeah, you are. Thank you for doing this for me. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions just about your experience and what you've done to date and things like that. So, firstly, like why did you join the ADHD Thrive method for kids? What were you struggling with? Tell me a little bit about your story.
So we joined for our daughter, Reese, who's now 9 years old, and she was diagnosed with ADHD in the second grade when she was 7. And she was on a couple of different medications for her ADHD over about a year and a half's time. And both of them we sort of lost our child when she was on it. She wasn't herself. She was, just not happy-go-lucky, a lot of anxiety. She did better in school, but when we were at home, we dealt with even more symptoms and things. And so at the end of last school year, we sort of reached a point where we knew medicine wasn't the right choice for her currently, but we didn't have a lot of other options. And when we talked with our pediatrician, he just said, let's take the summer off and maybe we'll look at dealing with some anxiety in the fall. And so we started researching natural ways that we might be able to address it on our own and stumbled upon your program and just felt like it made so much sense to really address, the dietary needs and gut health really before we even look at any other medication. So that's why we're here.
No, well, thank you for sharing that. I was in exactly the same scenario with my son. He was a shadow of himself, when he was on meds and just going to the doctor and asking them, please, there must be another way and just, coming up against that wall. I know, as parents, it's so frustrating, but it's also, you just never expect that when you have a child that it's going to come to that point. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
you
so,
just expect the doctors will have an answer, the medicine's going to work and it's going to be easy. And I think every time we started medicine, it was for a little bit.
yeah.
6 weeks or so.
And then
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yes, exactly the same with us. I remember the first time I started it with my son, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's playing with his brother. That's amazing!" But then it just slowly goes down from there. Now, before you joined, my program and working with me, were there any barriers or fears or reservations that you had to overcome?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think just trying something new that feels unconventional, even, was hard for us. We weren't sure that it was the right decision to shell out the money.
Mm,
And it's a big investment to change your diet. And, was it going to work?
yeah.
So I think we had a lot of anxieties even about whether or not this was going to be, the right path for us. But ultimately, our last prescription of ADHD medicine was $500. And so, we we weighed that out over the long term and said, if we can make a short term an investment in the next year
Yeah.
in this program and making changes in our diet, and we can get off of the medication in the long term, then maybe it would all, balance out in terms of cost.
Yeah.
Um,
And what
so
was what was that like ultimate thing that made you take that leap of just going, this is just what I've got to do? What was that? What was that sort of defining moment for you?
I think at one point we were just fed up. with
Yeah.
where we were and having to deal with it. And we just talked about it one night, and we just decided we were tired of thinking about it and just did it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
We just felt like we didn't have a lot of other options. We knew that going back to the pediatrician to get put on some other type of anxiety medicine is not where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we just felt like the timing was right with the summer to really, have time to make the changes. And we took a leap of faith, and we're glad we did.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too, because you have had some amazing, amazing changes so far, and you're only like not even halfway through yet. So that's so, so wonderful. And it's a total testament to everything that you guys have done, which is amazing. Now, we all know, eating this way and living this type of lifestyle, there are ongoing challenges. But also, like, when you've got a child with ADHD, what are some of the challenges, you've had to overcome going through the program, and how did you overcome those challenges?
eating out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, eating out is hard. Birthday parties are hard. Anytime you're in a social situation and you have to bring your own food or, ask ahead of time what's being served, those are all hard things. And I just think in the beginning, when you make these changes, it's just a lot. It becomes very overwhelming, but being able to have your team and the modules and the support, it's made it all very seamless. And honestly, every change we've made within a week, would you say? A week, there's been some big milestone aha moment where, she will, come to us and say, my stomach doesn't hurt anymore. I'm going to the bathroom. I feel happy. I'm so glad you've put me on this diet, Mommy. It really makes me feel better, and within a week of each change, something like that has happened, and it just keeps us plugging along, through. And so, I think sort of for us, that's what we've needed is, the immediate reinforcement. Things aren't perfect. We're dealing with a child who has ADHD. But the net is that every week is a little better than the week before. So we know we're on the right path, and all the hard things make it worth it.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, I've literally got goosebumps up my arms right now. And, just, and this is one of the reasons, as I mentioned to you, that I wanted you guys to get on here and share your story, because for your own child to come to you and say, I am so glad that you put me on this diet. I feel so happy. It must have meant the world to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been she's had some moments of sadness and things for not being able to eat certain things and different things like that, but it's always ended with, but I'm glad we're doing this, because she realizes how it's making her feel and how much better she feels on it and things like that. So it does
and that's when you get the buy-in from the kids, is when they feel better. And that's, very much what we teach inside the program, to help them understand and to get that buy-in. So tell me a little bit about the success you've seen while going through the program. I know you've just, touched on it, but, what are some of the changes that you've seen in her?
So she's always been constipated. And as soon as we cut gluten out, within days, she goes to the bathroom. And in the beginning, it was like a little party. She would call me in the bathroom and be like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. And she still talks about it. I mean, she says her stomach feels better. So we dealt with a lot of, I think our biggest issue prior to the program was just the emotional roller coaster ride that we took every day, not knowing if it was going to be a good day or a good moment or a bad moment. And we all sort of suffered because of that. And I would say 90% of the time, I mean, we can count on one hand in 12 weeks time, the amount of meltdowns that she's had. And most of them have been normal 9-year-old, emotions, not a roller coaster that we've been on. And for us, that's the biggest benefit. Our life is calm. She is much happier. I would not say that at the moment we're 12 weeks in, but she's still got the same focus issues, but I do see that it's better. Her mind seems a little clearer. She's still got some anxiety, but it's not as bad. And I feel like it's something that we at least have a baseline now that we can manage. And so we kind of know what our triggers are, and I feel like those things will get better. But, the big thing is she says, my friends tell me I'm happier. I feel happier. We feel happier. Our household is more calm. Would you add anything to that?
I think probably self-control has gotten a lot better. Because it used to be, if something did flip or switch, then it would be like an hour long process to calm her down and things like that. Now it's just, she realizes what's going on, and it just kind of, it's more even keel, and she's able to right the ship faster and better, I think.
And a little bit of maybe executive function. I mean, I will never forget, it's like 3 days in, we had made barely any changes. And she came downstairs and for the morning, and she said, okay, good morning. She sat and ate her breakfast, and she went and got herself completely ready, and she fed the dog, and she was standing at the door early, and she was ready to go. And there had never been another time in our lives that we had not stood over her going, it's time to brush your hair. It's time to brush your teeth. Let's go. And so, just seeing that she can do those things, it has built her self-confidence. She says she feels smarter, which I think is a 9-year-old's way of saying I feel more confident in myself. So, we've just seen so many positive things.
It's just like, honestly, and I just get so emotional about this, because to be on that roller coaster every single day, and it was the same for us, every day dreading what mood my son was going to be in, but for most of their life. And then all of a sudden, just that fog lifts, and, the peace comes back into your house. This should be the first port of call for any child diagnosed with ADHD. And I'm really going to try to make it my mission to get that to happen. Like, doctors, instead of saying, here's a prescription to start, here is this special diet, do this, and then let's later, if we need to later down the track, add in a bit of medication, as long as their body is in a state of absolute functioning, then a little bit of medication might be okay. But this should be the first port of call. Food should be first. And like, you guys have inspired me, honestly, just from the story that you tell me. All of my clients inspire me, but just, I don't know, something really, really got me when I was speaking to you, when, we delivered the test results to you, on just, that was just food, that we had only made food changes at that stage. And for that to be so dramatic for your families was amazing. And that story needs to be shared what far and wide. So based on that, what's one piece of advice you would give someone else just starting out on this journey?
You want to go?
I've got a few, actually. I think number one, you need to have everybody in the family on the same page about what you're doing and why you're doing it. We've got a 12-year-old son, and he wasn't quite on board from the beginning. But he quickly got on board, and he's seen some changes in his life as well. And because of them, and, I think with having both partners involved and on the same page with it, it's going to make it a lot easier for the family to do it. Because if one person is not on board and they're eating out at lunches and doing whatever other stuff, it's not going to quite be the same. I think so. I think everybody just needs to be on the same page.
I think that's a really good piece of advice for sure.
I think the other biggest piece of advice that I've got is we basically just completely cleaned out all of our cabinets, refrigerator, everything that was not, that Reese was not able to eat, we got rid of. So instead of saying, okay, instead of her having to come to us and ask, what can she have for snack? What can she eat? What can she not have? She can eat anything in the cabinet. for the most part. I mean, everything in there is safe for her to eat. And so it takes a lot of that question out of, okay, can she have this? Can she not? And her asking us, and us worrying is she eating something that she's not supposed to be eating, and we completely controlled it because we just took everything out. So I think that helped a lot too, because she doesn't feel bad now going in the cabinet and seeing something that she used to like to eat that her brother can eat, but she can't eat. Mm-hmm. And so that solves a lot of that, just because it's the temptation's not there and it's just not an issue.
Yeah. So. That's another amazing piece of advice. You trying to get a job? Do you want to come? Do you need a? I think it'd be great having a dad. Like most of the people in my team, they're like people that have been through my program and had success with their families. They're all moms, but it'd be great to have a dad come on.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and I think my piece of advice would be. There's a lot of, I think, anxiety as a parent of whether or not you're doing the right thing for your child. And is this going to work? And should I just, continue on with medicine because that's what my doctor says is going to help? And I think sometimes you have to just take that leap of faith. And I wish that we had found this before we started medicine. Yeah. We may end up back on medicine, and that's fine. We're fully, okay with that. But we feel like the changes that we've made, we would spend the money. What is it you said the first couple of weeks? You said, if this is how our life continues, I'd spend this money 10 times over. Our grocery bill is more than it was before, but we feel good about food that we're eating. And so we feel as though it's an investment in our health. And so I would just say, take the leap of faith and follow the process. And sometimes it's not a straight line. It's a little bit messy. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that this works. And I think that we're going to continue to see really great things.
Yeah. And, we used to get all of our groceries at one place. Now we're shopping 5 and 6 different places or whatever. But once you get into the groove and you kind of work it out and kind of work it in your schedule, it's not as big of a deal. It's not as daunting as it seems once you get it worked out. We order from Thrive a lot. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff we can't get locally. And, I've been going to a local butcher shop and getting meat and things like that. And it's been a cool experience. Yeah. We go to the farmer's market a lot now.
Awesome.
Get local fresh produce and things like that. So
yeah. It's amazing. It just it opens your eyes to like a whole new way of things, and things that you just didn't even know of, like all of a sudden are there, and it is exciting, but it becomes your normal. It becomes your new normal, and that's what I'm very much a preacher of, is like, yeah, it's going to be overwhelming at first, but if you've got the steps to do it and you take it slow and you follow that plan, one day you'll wake up and it won't seem so overwhelming anymore. It's like eating out. We eat out a lot, and we don't even think about it. We don't even look at the restaurants that we're going to beforehand. We don't even but we've been doing this for years. But every family will get to that stage. And guys, I just can't wait to see the more improvements that you're going to have. And you are, because you are only halfway through. You've now just got your lab test back and you see what's really going on in her body. And so those little things like focus, that's one of the last things that does get better, but you still got all of that to come. So that's really exciting. And I can't wait to see what you guys do. So thank you so much for your time today. You guys are rocking it, and, are a real, people should follow your story, because you've really just taken every bit of advice and implemented it, and you're seeing the success. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More than welcome.